Now here, I've been talking all about the data, right? I'm a big data person. I always say our programs are teach a man to fish style. In all of my recruiter training programs, I'm not going to give you like, here's the one thing. This is what I want you to do. These are the conversion numbers. This is the best entry to this that you can do. Every week, if you can, and if you're not sure how, shameless plug, this is exactly what I teach in the Care Work Club. But you need to track your number of applicants and your cost per applicant. How many booked interviews do you get? How many successful interviews do you get? And how many of those turn into actual hires? This is also how you're going to figure out your cost per hire. But when you break it down to this pipeline and you start looking at those percentages every week, you're going to start to see problems before they become massive problems. You'll see a little dip and go, this week only 12% of our applicants booked interviews. We normally book 25%. Why did we only get half as many interviews booked by percentage? Now, that little percentage can hide. If you had a great week on your online ads, maybe you got twice as many applicants that week and you get the same amount of interviews booked. And so you're looking at your interview schedule and you're like, this is about right. Last week we had 12 interviews scheduled. This week we had 12 interviews scheduled. Good. But if you're looking at your numbers and you go, but wait a minute, we got twice as many applicants this week and only half as many of our applicants booked interviews. Why is that? That's what I'm talking about. That is what I'm talking about, where you're breaking down that data and you're like, this is the specific part of our pipeline. Next week, we need to look at our percentage of applicants that book interviews. And here's what we're going to try to make sure that that stays top, that gets back up to where it should be, right? All of these individual percentages tell you specific things about your recruiting pipeline. And that's why when I do training with people, I break it down by these numbers to say this week, we're going to talk about the percentage of applicants to book interviews. Here's all the things that can tell you. You guys, home care hiring, it is overwhelming and it is frustrating, but it is not a mystery. The answers are there. They're in your data. You just need to start tracking it. So this is what you can start tracking. I really recommend every week, but if you are not currently able to do that, every month is at least better than nothing. Here is some of the national data. So I said at the beginning, we're going to share some of this data of why recruiting has felt crazy. Okay. If the years on this slide are wrong, please don't tell me, because I changed them like 3 times. We are in the eternal lack of time since the pandemic started. And it took me a really long time to go, wait, it's 2022, right? Here's the data. This is from December of 2020 through January of 2022. This is a national number for what percentage of applicants actually got hired. Now, I broke this down recently in a blog on our website, but it was really interesting because so many people believed that a lot of the hiring struggles were related to federal unemployment benefits. And if you look at this chart, the highest spike of the year was in March. If you go back and you look at the news articles from March, everyone was like, oh, they're about to end federal unemployment benefits. And sure enough, the conversion of applicants to hires was spiking. But then they didn't. And we see the number goes down. And the lowest of the year was in August, when less than 5% of applicants actually got hired. So for most agencies, if you're getting maybe 100 applicants per month, you're talking a difference of several employees. That makes a big difference on your business, right? So August was the lowest of the year. And then it peaked back up in September into October, when what happened? Federal unemployment benefits ended. So yes, I would say there was a distinct correlation in the stress that you were feeling that correlated with those federal unemployment benefits. But then what do we see at the end of the year? It levels back off. This was not a magic cure. And so some people are frustrated right now, like the unemployment benefits ended and I'm still not getting the hires. Well, the unemployment benefits ended, but the hiring market has been forever changed. And you cannot take this for granted anymore. You need to know this number for your business. And then I take it a step further. I want you to break it down by those metrics we just talked about for each step of the process to say, what's the national level for this number? Where is my agency at? That's the kind of data I want you guys looking at. So here's just a fun couple of slides. The graphic design is not perfect, and that's because I did it. And I am not a graphic designer, right? I'm a about the data, not so much the graphic design, but I do like that these slides are kind of pretty. Here is a hiring funnel. You have your applicants, you get them booked for an interview, they have a successful interview, they get hired, they get working. That's great. That's your hiring funnel, right? But a lot of agencies, they go from this little nice timetable and they go, wait, I need to talk to them first. I'm going to do a phone screen. And then I'm going to send them our online application on our website or ClearCare or whatever it is. And then I'm going to, once they fill that out, then I'll actually book their interview time, because I don't want to book an interview for somebody if they haven't filled out this other application, right? That takes a little bit more time, but then they get the interview booked and then they do the successful interview, then they're hired, then they're working. But not so fast, because a lot of agencies say, I'm going to book their interviews and then they need to send me all of their hiring documents. And if they don't send me all their hiring documents, I'm not going to bother interviewing them because I don't have their documents. So I'll reschedule them or I'll cancel it until they send the documents. And then after I interview them, I want to make sure that I get their references back before they get hired. All of these things by themselves make a lot of sense. But when you put them all together like this is what we end up with. You have an agency on the left that goes, we get them booked for an interview, we bring them in, it's successful, we get them hired, we're good to go. You have an agency on the right that has added all these additional steps, and this is a funnel. So what happens every time you introduce a new step into the funnel, you lose a few people. You have a few people that do a phone screen with you, but don't complete the online application, so they don't get a booked interview. You have a few people that book the interview, but then they don't send their documents to you, so they don't ever end up with a successful interview. And that is the not caregiver first mindset. That is, I don't want to waste my time interviewing somebody if I don't already have their documents in my hand. I don't want to waste my time scheduling an interview with somebody if they won't even fill out this other application. In and of itself, it makes sense, but when you put it all together, you're being out competed by another agency that got them in the door and gave them a job. That's what's happening, right? So I don't want to say you can't do any of those things, but here's a couple just options to streamline that have worked for our clients. If you really need an additional application done, and what I mean by that is typically your ClearCare or other software that you're going to use to then track them forever. Give them the link when you book them for an interview, get them on the phone one time. I can't wait to meet with you. You can come in tomorrow at 2 o'clock. We have this extra application. I'm going to send you the link, but if you don't get it done, that's all right. Come anyways. And then when they get there, you've scheduled a little bit of extra time. You say, hi, welcome. I'm so excited to meet with you. We do need this application done so that we can get you working faster, because we want to make sure that we get you on your first shift. But you can just fill it out right here. Here's the computer. Go ahead. Now, did you notice what was caregiver first? I got them in the door as quickly as possible. I provided the computer to make it easy for them to fill out. And what verbiage did I use? I need you to do this application so I can get you working as quickly as possible, because that's what the caregiver is looking for. Not, this is going to make my job so much easier. This is what we use to track you. This is what we use for payroll. They don't need to know. They need to know, if you can fill out this application real quick, we can get you working faster. Along that same line, submitting documents. You need these things to get them hired. I know some of you guys are in states with really intense certifications, and you may have had your time wasted by people who didn't actually bring them. I highly recommend that you make it very easy for them to submit before the interview. Like, you can just text them to me, but do not let that cancel the interview. Let them come into the office, because you can give them the job offer, you can get them scheduled for orientation, you can show them some of the shifts you have available for them, and then still let them submit the documents. And worst comes to worst, you've wasted a little bit of time on somebody that doesn't submit their documents. Okay, but if you increase the overall percentage of applicants you're getting hired, it's going to be worth it. It's worth it to waste a little bit of your time. And then the last thing we mentioned was checking references. I don't recommend withholding a job offer. Now, of course, that's up to your discretion, but I really recommend you move forward in good faith while working on those references, because every extra day that you add to that hiring process, they're getting a job somewhere else, and it may not even be in home care. We might have lost them to the Walmarts of the world, right? That's not what we want. We want to make it very easy for them to get through this hiring process, because ultimately, it's not the caregiver's job to make sure you can staff all of your cases. It's not their job to make sure that the community has the care that they need. It's your job. It's your job to make sure you're getting people hired. It's your job to make sure you can staff the cases. So hold their hand through it, because you need them a lot more than they need you. So secret number 4, you can grow your agency just by streamlining. I have seen so many people that take out one of these things and boom, it is usually the second application. I just worked with a client a couple months ago. They called me in December and said, we're only getting a few hires every month. We really need more. I thought you guys were going to help us more, and we want to cancel our services. And I said, I understand, but I know that our account manager has recommended to you several times that you stop requiring the application before the interview. We've recommended a few times, and I would really appreciate it if you guys would try that for the 3rd month of your trial. Would you try letting them fill it out when they come to the interview instead? And you guys, I kid you not, they had 50 successful interviews in January. 50. Now, does every single agency I work with get those results? No. But there are so many agencies that have something simple like this in their process that they are holding on to. We have always done this. We need this done. If they don't do it, they're not a good caregiver. And they have no idea that if they would just streamline their hiring pipeline and put their all effort into those conversion metrics, they could grow their agency like they were hoping.